Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. We're going to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Good morning. Bonjour. Comment ça va? Et toi? Ça va bien. Ni hao. Hola. Buongiorno. Bienvenue. Wan Ying. Bienvenidos. Benvenuta. And welcome. Welcome to another exciting episode of Gem Hunter Stories. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And each and every week, I get the amazing opportunity to take you on a journey to places you've never been before, to hear stories you've never heard before. Each week, I get a magnificent moment to be with you, to take you on a mental, physical, and spiritual adventure into the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry. Gemstones have been with us from the beginning of time. They were the first stories that many of us, that mankind told. So what I do is I take all those stories and I use them as a template, as an inception point, as a bridge to help you begin to discover the value of your own stories. Barbara, bring up my slides, please. Last week we talked about authenticity, and I wanted to continue the conversation of what authenticity is, because the greatest thing about gemology is that you begin to learn words and terms of concepts and how they have such a different meaning in gemology than the way we use those words and terminologies in our own lives. Every week I say that I want you to discover the value of your story. And I say it like it's easy. I say it like, just, hey man, why don't you just discover the value of your story? Okay, no problem. But it's not that easy. It's hard. Sometimes it takes weeks, years. Sometimes some people never realize what the value of their own stories is. They think about other people's stories, but they don't think about what they do and who they are and how they interact with the light, just like a gemstone. And part of that problem is what we're going to talk about today, which is authenticity. The quality of being authentic. Because being authentic or authenticity is more than just a word. It's a movement. It's a place. It's a state of mind. In gemology, authenticity is also called fashioning. I usually use the word finishing, but fashioning which is to bring out and maximize the beauty of a gemstone. That's what fashioning is. To be able to bring out and maximize the beauty of a gemstone. So when you look at a diamond, this is a diamond. This is a diamond. This is a rough diamond. When you pick up a diamond, this is what it looks like. This is peridot. This is a rough peridot. So when you find, and we talked about peridot, and as far as the month of, well, we talked about it, it's the month of August. So peridot. This is jade. This is what jade looks like in its rough form. So when you begin to start to talk about and to think about the value of your story, you have to understand where you came from. That in the beginning of your life, and I'm not talking about just even being a child, but as an adult, once upon a time, this is who you are. This is who you were. A rough diamond, a rough peridot, a rough jade. So authenticity is not just having the chemical composition or the structure of a gemstone or who you are. A lot of people talk about being something, but authenticity means more than that. Oftentimes when I create stories or when I help and train, coach people, in fact, you'll meet one of my best storytelling. I have a surprise for you today. You'll be one of my best storytelling students today, Marie Meeks, and I'm so proud of her. I'm like excited. But oftentimes when I'm doing my workshops or individual training, I will try to create something or show my students something that lets them see it, that lets them either, because we're visual or auditory learners, most of us. So, and it just comes to me. And yesterday or a couple of days ago, I was talking to Marie about authenticity. And I was sitting right here and I started thinking about it. And what came to my mind was a movie that came out 40 years ago, literally June 2nd, 1982, The Wrath of Khan. And I gave that to you for a homework assignment on Facebook. And just in particular, one scene. When those of you who didn't see it or don't know, I'm as much as, well, I love Star Wars, but Star Trek was my first real understanding. Yeah, of what Star Trek was. And the scene that I wanted Marie and the rest of you to concentrate on was the scene that where Spock dies. Mr. Spock died. And when you look at the scene, it opens up with Spock sitting there with Captain Kirk and his son that he just found out that he was a son. And Spock and Kirk says, Scotty, I need power and full power in 3 minutes or we're all dead. And Spock, you see him right there, decide right then and there that he is the one. He is the one, the only one on the ship that can save the entire USS Enterprise. And without saying a word, he gets up and he goes down to the engineering room. He sees Scotty knocked out, well, unconscious. He sees Bones, Dr. McCoy, and Bones, being Bones, he tries to stop him. And of course, Spock used his intellect and said, I don't have hard time to argue with him. He does his Vulcan neck pinch and he knocks out Dr. McCoy. And he goes into this engineering room with the full understanding that he's going to die. And he goes into the room. Scotty wakes up, Spock, get out. And he opens up the tube, the cylinder that the dilithium crystals in. Notice dilithium crystals. Notice there's no coincidence that I'm talking about gemstones. And 40 years ago, I saw a movie talking about dilithium crystals. There's no accident to this. He puts his hands into the cylinder where the dilithium crystals are. And you can see that radiation poisoning is just instantaneously attacking his body. He's dying every second that he's there. And he does whatever he does. He closes back up the cylinder. You see the screen comes nominal. Captain, we have Sulu says, sir, we have full power. Kirk says, go. And they go and the ship gets away from danger. Okay, from Khan. You guys remember Khan, Ricardo Montalban, the same guy that said rich Corinthian leather. That was Khan, Kirk's ultimate enemy. And when the ship gets away from danger, Kirk says to Scotty, good job. And Scotty says, Captain, you need to come down here now. And he immediately looks to where Spock is. He realizes Spock is not there. So he runs down to the engineering room, and there is his friend. For all these years, remember this episode came out in 1967, the original one. And he sees his friend laying there, dying. In fact, Scotty says he's dead already. And he calls to Spock. And he says, Spock. And Spock, dying every second, he gets up, he pulls down his tunic as his uniform, he straightens out of his uniform because he is a Starfleet officer. He comes to the window. The first question that he asks is the ship okay? Is everyone out of danger? As Kirk said, yes, you've saved the ship. The ship is out of danger. And then they talk about a question that they both had together in the Starfleet Academy years, 30, 40 years earlier. And then he says, one of the greatest things that I think a human being can say to another human being, that I have been and shall always be your friend. That, ladies and gentlemen, is authenticity. See, authenticity is not just whether or not you have the qualities to be whatever it is. Authenticity is when you live it. Authenticity is when you understand that every being, every fiber of your being is prepared for that job. Authenticity is when you're a firefighter and you run into that building that nobody else wants to go into. That's authenticity. Authenticity is a mom who understands that She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children, and those children are completely dependent on mom. Mom is their first superhero. That is what authenticity is. Authenticity, in whether it be in gemology or in us, it's not just the chemical process. It's not just your color or your shape or where you're found. Authenticity is when it all comes together. Authenticity is a process. It's a process. It's understanding what you are. Earlier, this whole program, we've been talking about the stories and the importance of stories and the 7 elements of storytelling. Authenticity is awareness. Authenticity is, and you remember what awareness is. I wish I could have speak to you back and forth and have one of you tell me what is authenticity. I'm sorry, what is awareness? Awareness, for those of you who forgot, awareness is that moment when you realize that this is not something that you can do. This is something that you have to do. So when you understand what authenticity is, then you are on the track of understanding and discovering the value of your own story. Who are you? I had a conversation with a colleague of mine, and I was on her show, her and Barbara's show, and LaWanda Bradford, and we were talking about authenticity in regards to not just personal, but authenticity in regards to business. Authenticity is when you have a business and people can understand why you're in that business. When you serve an ice cream cone, I'll tell you a story that happened to me when I lived in Japan. We used to have this guy that would sit in this box, and rudely we would call him the Jap in the box, because it was a Japanese guy sitting in this little box. I know it's rude and stereotypical, terrible. But what I will always remember, he served hot dogs. That's all he did. But when he gave you a hot dog, I'm not talking about a Chicago hot dog. I'm talking about a regular straight New York hot dog, bun, meat, that's it. Ketchup, I know, ketchup for Chicago, mustard or ketchup. But when he gave you that hot dog, when he gave it to you, I remember when he gave it to me, I didn't even want to eat it. I just looked at it, because he gave it like, my father did this, my father's father did this, my father's father did this. That is what authenticity is. It's the process of you becoming who you are. And as I told you, that over 95%, more than 95% of gemstones have been treated. I said that last week. Let me emphasize this. More than 95% of all the gemstones you have ever seen in your life has been treated, has been heated, has been dyed, has been bleached, has been whitened, has been irradiated, has been oil filled, has been, I love this word, has been impregnated. Emeralds. Those of you who have an emerald, your emerald has been impregnated to look the way it looks. If you have a ruby and a sapphire, 99% of the ones that you have to be entreated. What fashioning is it's literally bringing out the beauty. So when you are beginning to understand, or wanting to understand, your story, and more importantly, the value of your story, you have to understand, what is the process? How did you get there? Now that you have a doctorate before you, you have doctor before you name, you have coach before you name. What does that mean? What does that mean? Yes, you may have the paperwork. Maybe you bought it. Maybe you actually went through the program. But are you living authentically? Are you being who you are? If I gave, let's say I had I'm in a relationship and I'm ready to give the woman that I love a ring to symbolize our love. I buy this. This is a diamond. This is a rough diamond. I take her to dinner. She's thinking in the back of her mind, today's the day. This is the day that we're going to get married. This is the day he's going to pop the question. I buy this. This is the diamond. Is this made out of carbon? Yes. Does this have a cubic structure? Yes. Does it have perfect cleavage? That's what that line is about. That's where the diamantaire is going to cut that. But that's not what she's expecting. I don't talk about where it comes from. I don't talk about where it comes from. Or I don't talk about the type of people that made that diamond, that dug up that diamond. I don't talk about the process. All she knows is that on her dinner plate, on the dessert plate that she had, when she went to the bathroom and came back, I romantically put this box on this dessert plate and said, here you are. Now, what she is expecting is this, a diamond, a fully finished diamond. And that's the problem, because people don't understand the process. See, authenticity is what you have gone through to get to where you are. When Spock died, the poignant thing about that scene was that Spock, but everything he has done in his life has prepared him for that moment. When Captain Sullenberg flew that airliner, where he had 150 souls, not even including the air crew, when he landed that plane on water, a 400-ton plane with passengers landed on water, everything he did up to that point to prepared him for that moment. That is what authenticity is. And the hardest part of understanding the value of your story is that you have to go back. You have to understand what the process is. You have to understand that once upon a time, this is where you were. You have to understand this is what you had to go through to get to be that doctor, that lawyer, that mom, that teacher. We live in a day and age where people who have gone through medical school, nursing school, law school, all kinds of stuff, but yet we live in a world where people don't appreciate authenticity. People think that they could just put a label on themselves or brand or call themselves something. That's not what authenticity is. And I'm not saying you have to go to school or you have to, but what I'm saying is, what is the process? When someone says that they are a doctor or a coach or a whatever, an advisor, a guide, the first question you should ask yourself is, what did they go through? How did they get from here to here? That is what authenticity is. That is what the person in your life is expecting. She or he is expecting the finished product. And the hardest part with being authentic is that you have to understand that. The most important person, and I will say this again and again and again, the most important person that you have to tell a story to is to yourself. See, you have to see this. When you're cutting up a gemstone, the lapidary, the diamantaire has to see the potential of this. You have to know that you are a diamond, you are an emerald, you are a ruby, and you have to understand that you have what it takes to become this, to become something magnificent. That is what authenticity is. So what I'm going to do today, and it's a hard process. It's a hard process. I do storytelling and workshops and individual training all over the world. And the hardest part of understanding the value of your story to discover, and I say discover because that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like when you understand what your role is, your purpose in your life. Spock knew it. Look at that scene when he turns and he thinks he knows. In the Matrix, that's the scene where when Neo remembers, when all those bullets are coming towards him, and what does he say? He says no. He says no because he knew that, as Morpheus said, he is the one. That is the scene in Batman Begins, when Batman understands, way from when he was in the cave. And I showed you that video. When all those thousands of bats, the thing that he feared the most, he understood at that moment everything that he did to get to be and who he is today. And he became Batman. That is what authenticity is. And I brought that scene from Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan, to understand. I want you to understand that at no point in time did he ever falter. At no point in time, all the way to his last breath. And it's emotional for me, because who would not love to live a life where you have a friend so profound that you've been through stuff together? You've survived. You made it through something. You went through the process together, and your friend's last words to you is, "I have been and shall always be your friend." And he dies with the satisfaction that he did everything that he was supposed to do as a Starfleet officer. And what I'm saying, and the purpose of this show is to tell you that the same things that you saw in that movie, in that scene, is the same things that you can do within yourself. It's the same processes that a gemstone has to go through in order to become that diamond, that ruby. What is the things that you had to go through? What's the training that you had to take? That is what authenticity is. Does it act like what it says it is? One of my favorite sayings, and I'm going to just say it. There's a saying or motto that says, everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do some real lion sugar honey iced tea. And thank you, Charles. Okay, that's Charles and I. We understand it because him and I are, and I'm going to bring him on in a couple of weeks. What it means to be a United States Marine. That's what authenticity is. And Charlie can testify to this. When you are a Marine, you believe in the code. I didn't grow up. I didn't wake up and one morning say, my mother said, "You're a Marine." No, I had to go through the process, boot camp, the fleet, the history, the whole thing. That's what people like myself and Charlie and hundreds and thousands of men and women for 246 years, that is what authenticity is. So when I see a diamond, I see myself as a Marine. I see firefighters, I see teachers, I see lawyers, I see doctors, those people, all those people, first responders that died, thousands of them because of the COVID. They didn't, it's not a fact that it's not just the fact that they died, and of course that's sad, and 1 million people died. It's the fact that they knew that there was a possibility that they would die. They knew it, and they did it anyhow. That is what authenticity is. So what I have the pleasure and the honor to do all over the world is to work with people, to help them discover, because oftentimes the hardest part of it is understanding what your value is. We all do great things all the time, and we don't see it. We don't see it. We see other people, but we don't see it. So today I'm going to have an extra treat for you today. I'm going to, after the commercial, I'm going to bring on Marie Meeks, and we're going to do literally what I do with a storytelling session. I'm going to show you how I take people from just understanding what their raw materials are, the rough gemstone they may be, and show you how they become. And I will tell you more about that on the other side.
When you do nothing, nothing happens. Best time to take action is now. This is the time to work on you and your business. So I've created a group, an online academy for professionals and entrepreneurs. Power Partners will help you to start helping yourself.
Helped me change my life and my business.
Not a Toastmasters, it's not a BNI, it's not any of these, but it is. So it's all this stuff in one place.
Get the results that you deserve right now. So what are you waiting for? Let's make it happen. See you in Power Partners.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing you to Marie Meeks.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. So, time is always short. There's so many things I want to do. So what I'm going to do, and Marie, you and I talked about authenticity before. Mm-hmm. So why don't we start out with this? Because just to let people know, when I work with someone in their story, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, who are you? Who are you? And what is your overall message? So let's just talk about, introduce yourself, Marie. Who are you? And then no pressure. You're just talking to the whole world, but no pressure at all. Go ahead, girl.
I also told you I was treating this like a coaching session. So.
It is.
Exactly. Good morning. My name is Marie Denise Meeks. I am currently a flight attendant. I've been in aviation for the last 18 years. Family orientated. I am the last of my siblings. I live a happy, full life, and I'm just excited about life.
Okay. And you said that you were, and the audience, what we're doing is I'm going to show you exactly how you begin the process of pulling out the value. So you said that you are a flight attendant. How long you been a flight attendant?
For 18 years.
For 18 years, you've been a flight attendant. Can we say that? Can we give a unsolicited shout out to the company, the airline that you're in? Is that legal? Can you say it, or am I supposed to say it? Huh? What airline?
United.
The United Airlines. Okay. So, all right. So what is it? What is your job? For 18 years, you've been doing your job. What is your job?
My job is to greet, aid, and assist, direct, comfort, any little small detail when someone gets on the airplane and they expect a service. So you give them a service.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you see the way she told that. You see the way she said that, right? So again, in fact, let me not do this. What are the 7 elements of storytelling, Marie? What are the 7 elements? Go ahead.
The 7 elements of storytelling is sound, passion, hero, antagonist, awareness, transformation, and sound again. So the first, sound, right? Mm-hmm. So sound. So when she said that she's a flight attendant and she said what she does, take a step back. This is the part. This is the hard part. This is what I heard when I first met Marie. When she told me that, I thought to myself, wait a minute. You mean that you're in an aluminum tube for hours every day, each and every day? You stand in front of a group of strangers, Republicans, Democrats, independents, straight, gay, men, women, old, young, black, white, everything, every day. And you literally stand in front of these people, directing them on telling them what to do, creating a place of safety and harmony in care. You use the word care, all right, for these people. Yes.
While you're flying at 35,000 feet.
Yeah, so between 30 and 35,000 feet in the air. Yes.
At 35. Yeah. Okay. Now, Marie is and I don't know if she said it, but Marie, I think she did. She is a Christian. She is a child of God. And you see how God brought me somebody that literally knows the Bible. So I've been learning about the Bible as we're going through this. So she's a child of God. And the first thing that came to my mind, what was the first thing that came to my mind when you told me your story?
Oh, you told me that every day I am between heaven and earth. Every single day of my life, I'm more closer to God than most people are on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And I do this every day, 4 days a week, sometime longer, between heaven and earth.
And before I said that to you, had you ever thought about it like that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. We the hardest part of discovering the value of your story is being able to step back and see, what is it? Who are you? Where did it come from? So you care for people. Now look at her face. Listen to the sound of her voice. This is the person who's been doing this job 18 years. 18 years. So tell me, Marie, what is it that has kept you going for all these years?
Honestly,
go ahead.
For me, the love, compassion, and empathy that I just have for individuals, period. And because I literally love what I do, regardless of how bad the day may be, of something happening and things going on. At the end of the day, the joy that I get is seeing that I've actually helped someone get to their destination, or get them to see something more clear, or for them to just simply tell me thank you for making it a pleasant flight, and you doing what it is that you do. I appreciate you. Or just me saying good morning and smiling is enough for most people.
So let's refresh the audience. What is the job of a flight attendant again?
The job.
Like if I was looking at the United Airlines manual, and the flight attendant, the jobs and duties of you know how it says corporate, the jobs and duties of a flight attendant is, and you say.
The duty simply is that you greet, you aid and assist, and you smile. And we're always multitasking 5-6 things at one time, because we still have a job to do. It's not one individual, even though it's hundreds of passengers. You still give your undivided attention to each and every person as best you can. And you multitask it. For me, over the years, I've learned to pay attention to body language. So I tend to know what an individual wants before they even ask. I studied that.
You studied that. So where did you get that from? Where did that come from? Because I've been on flights where people like, yo, you want some peanuts? Yeah, here you go. You know, so where did and we've all been on, you know, I hate to say, if you ever been on Spirit Airlines, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, maybe they got better. Maybe they got better. I mean, I don't know. I hate to insult anybody that flies a Spirit, but it's a different. It's a different kind of airline. You know, I mean, you can get jewelry at Sam's Club, and you can get jewelry at Tiffany's. Okay, so what? So the question is, what was the thing in your life that made you see it, being a flight attendant, and what you do, on a higher level?
For me, because when I accepted the job and I went into it, I was currently in between jobs. This was right after 9/11, and I was at the airport doing bus shuttle and wheelchairs, and a pilot came up to me. He would come through, and I simply said, "Good morning." And he turned around and said, "Did you just say that?" I said, "Yes, sir, I did. Did I say something wrong?" He said, "No, no one speaks normally when you come through here." He said, "You must be new." I said, "Yes, sir, I am." So from that, I would see him every day. And then he just started making small talk with me and asked me if I ever thought about becoming a flight attendant. I told him, yeah, in my other life. I said, don't you have to be a certain shape and size and things of that nature? And he was like, oh, that's old and out the window. I said, because you do understand, I ain't a pop bottle shaped girl. He started laughing. And so he came through, And he told me that they were expecting me. I went to the interview. I found a way to get out of work, went to the interview, and 85 people showed up. 12 of us got hired. I was number 10. And the 30-second synopsis I gave of why I wanted to become a flight attendant was good good morning and please and thank you. The small things that people take for granted. And that was it. They didn't care nothing about anything else and wanted to make sure that you were able to do that without a whole lot of fluff. You know what I'm saying? But for it to come off naturally. So that's what I did. I appreciate Dean Matson. God knows I do. He's part of the reason why I'm still actually in this thing called aviation. Life has been different. It's been good. And when you have nobody else to depend on when you're doing this job, nobody else is going to come and save you. They're expecting you to do what they've hired you to do. So good, bad, or indifferent, or whatever's happening in life, once my feet step across that threshold and get into that airplane, whatever going on with Marie has to stay out the door. Because the people pay for that. They paid for a service. They went online, they booked their flight, they showed up at the airport, they went through security, they came to the gate, their section was called, they got on the airplane, period. From that point, you are to give a service. Irregardless of what's going on with you, all hell can be breaking loose with you. But they pay for a service. So you provide a service.
And how, to the ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching this show, you see how I can make the analogy between Mr. Spock asking in his day of his moments of death, asking, is the ship safe? Is the ship out of danger? And then I bring on someone who works in not the USS Enterprise, the friendly skies of United. This is the person that you want to have on your plane if anything should happen. You want to have her on your plane during wonderful flights from Chicago to LA or all the other places. And she's been doing this for 18 years. That is what authenticity is. That's the sound. The sound is the initial direction that you have decided to take. Every day, she said it. She said that every day she gets on the plane, she makes a decision. The second she steps her foot over the threshold, everything else doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the passengers on that flight that she's on today. Mr. Spock making the decision to save the ship is no different than what some of us, like Marie, does every day. That's the sound. That's the you hear the passion in her voice. So the next element, the next element is what? We have sound, we have passion. What's the next element, Marie?
The hero.
The hero. Tell me how the hero, tell me who is the hero when you think about what you do every day for 18 years. Who has been the hero? Who has been that person that has inspired you in your life to do what you do?
To do what I do, it will mainly, I would have to say my grandmother.
Why?
My grandmother. She was the rock of our family. Rest her soul. She's been gone now since 2020. And no, 19, I'm sorry. And she was the rock. Everything for her was family, good, bad, or indifferent. Irregardless of what happened in life, where we grew up at in Chicago was always home. You can always come back. And we grew up on the heart of the west side of Chicago, Lockwood and Madison. That was always home. That's what her and my grandfather worked for. So irregardless of what happened, and every one of us has been in that building. Every one of us has been raised there. And if nothing else, family is what she instilled in us. We was going to love each other, good, bad, or indifferent. We was going to help one another. You wasn't going to bash and down each other and not show up for one another. So she's been my rock and my foundation. And my mother, rest her soul, I love her dearly. the serving part, because I'm a servant at heart. I don't mind serving. I don't mind doing it. It doesn't bother me. I tell people all the time, my name don't never have to be called. I don't never have to be in lights. I just want to serve and make sure that the job is done. You tell me what you need me to do, we're gonna do it and move on. And that's it. And I carry that from work as well as what I do at church. My saying every day when I get on the plane is, Lord, keep a smile on my face, a song in my heart, and a praise on my lips. So I don't get in this thing here called flesh and go out on people, because since the pandemic, everybody's mindset and attitude and this sense of entitlement has increased. So you have to deal with all the different elements of that. I just keep smiling and in my head praying.
So you see, audience, and I'm talking to you, Marie, and I'm talking to the world. So you see what her sound is. You see, you feel, you hear her passion. There's no mistaking that she's still passionate about what she does. You see the hero in her life manifesting through her. Even though her grandmother is no longer here, you still hear it. So I want you to tell the audience what you intend, you're fashioning. How are you going to take all the things, the process, the things that you've gone through in your life? What is your plans? What's your next step? What is it? How are you going to take what you've done for 18 years and help other people? Tell the audience.
What we are working on, sir, Coach.
Me. Okay.
Yes, you, sir, Coach. Yes, you actually can wear that title well, and I appreciate you. We are going to create a platform, and I will be going around speaking and talking, and small groups, large groups, whatever the case may be. But connecting flights is a journey, and it's connecting you from one destination to the next, and anything dealing with life, getting you to the next point, showing you how to evolve and deal with it in spite of. And that's what I've done for the last 18 years. Highs and lows, especially the last 10, with so much happening in my life. And you made me see that all of that can be used in helping somebody else that's going through and struggling so bad, and show them and give them the steps of what it is that you've done. Because I tell most folks, us as a culture, we don't like to hear the word going to see a therapist or going to sit down and talk to somebody, because that's supposed to be taboo in the Black culture. You better go sit down and talk to somebody so you can figure out what's going on in your head, and they can sort it out for you. So that's what Connecting Flights is going to be, with the help of my coach. I'm excited.
Thank you. And one of the thank you for everything you're saying. And what makes me excited working with, yes, that is who she is every day. The definition of authenticity. That's what it looks like. And that's what we're going to start doing on this show, bringing people, because some of y'all don't believe. Let's just get real. So some of y'all have been watching me for a while every week, and you're like, yeah, well, okay, he's talking about gemstones and stuff. So what I need to do is start showing you the people who literally demonstrate the same characteristics that I study and other people who are gemologists study all the time. What makes a diamond a diamond? What makes a ruby a ruby? What makes jade? I said last week and last 2 weeks that jade is the toughest gemstone. So here is Marie, this Black woman from the west side of Chicago, standing in front of all these people, strangers every day, and they're literally trusting her at 35,000 feet, trusting her that to lead them, connecting flights. And what Marie does, and when I first heard it and thought about it, I was like, wow, that's a powerful message. And you're right, Charles, there's lots of people who can benefit from therapy. But lots of times there are a lot, at least as Marie said, in African American community, in other communities, going to a therapist is hard. Making that step is hard. So what Marie is going to do with Connecting Flights is to show people that, or to use the same skills and concepts and way of talking and speaking and patient to get people to make those connecting flights within their own lives. Because the airline industry is just a microcosm.
Yeah.
Think about it. And Marie and I remember that day when we figured out, I said, Marie, how much space is it between the person sitting? I'm in 6A and 6B. How much space do I have between my seat and the next person?
Maybe 2.5, 3 inches, and that's pushing it.
2.5, 3 inches. I'm an African-American man, and I'm sitting right next to a guy who's literally reading KKK magazine. But for those 3 hours, I got to get along. I got to get along with him. And the person who is leading me through this journey is Marie Meeks. And that's what we have to do. We have to understand the value of our story. And Marie, what Marie hasn't said is what she uses her understanding of the Bible. She understands her. The first time I met Marie said very proudly, well, you know, Barry, I've read all 66 books in the Bible. And I was already impressed because I was like, oh, there's 66? I didn't know. I didn't know, you know. But because of the way she brought it to me, even though someone like myself who sits in the back of the church, you know, I'm the guy that says, you know, when the pastor says, let's turn to Ezekiel, so-and-so, and I'm like, where's that? What page? Hold on a second. Can you know? And so Marie is the person that says, hey, babe, it's right here. This paragraph. Oh, it's right here. She's the one that gets you to understand that you're not going to be late for your flight. That you're going to, I know you need to get to Terminal B and you're in Terminal F, how you could get there, and you got 15 minutes to get there. She's the one that reminds people that, baby, you're still on Eastern Standard Time. This is Central Standard Time. So you got an hour. Oh, I didn't know. So oftentimes, in order to tell your story, in order to be able to help other people, you have to understand the value of your own story. So Marie, since we've been working together for a while now, how do you feel about your job and about what you do every day? What has changed for you, if anything? What has changed?
Oh, a lot has changed. What you've told me in the beginning, and for me to start looking at my job and what I do on a daily basis as my audience, for how connecting flights can become more real in my life. Even as we land and I'm telling them, double check the departure board and those that may have connecting flights, if you're going here, going there. So every time it rolls off of my lips, I hear it and it becomes more real. Not looking at my job as a chore or me being so upset, but looking at it now as my audience and creating more stories and more things that I can use as I aid and assist and do this. So I don't get all caught up anymore about being so, oh God, I don't want to go. It's 4 days. I don't care. I'm too busy being excited because I'm too busy trying to figure out I'm ready to meet on the next journey. And what I can do, and I use everything, as you can see from all these notes and everything and taken when we sit down and have our sessions, and you want to know how many stories I've gathered and who I talk to and who I help, and writing this stuff down, it has been therapeutic and helpful. And it made me appreciate in a different level of what it is that I do. If it's nothing else, like I told you, someone saying thank you. Because of you, you've made my flight more pleasant. Or because of you and all my travels and how bad it was, this one right here has, topped it, and I'm good now. So it's the small things. So I get excited.
And you see, ladies and gentlemen, the difference. You see what authenticity looks like. She doesn't have a uniform on now. She's on the ground. Her plane, she is a couple of miles away from the airport. She's not working today, but authenticity is not, as I'll say again, is not just the title. It's not a word. It's not just you having a certain initials before or after your name. Authenticity is no different than understanding that a diamond is the hardest gemstone in the world. That's its job. If you break, but it's brittle. So if you hit a diamond, it breaks. You understand that. You understand that there's authenticity is a responsibility. When you're a doctor, when you're a Marine, when you are a teacher, you don't turn it off. You don't become Jade 1 second and the next minute, well, I don't really feel like being Jade today. No. Authenticity is in your DNA. It is who you are.
Yes.
You're not a title. You have to, when you're looking at the value of your story, ask yourself the question, what am I every single day? What is the single characteristic that makes me interact with the light? Just like a jump. So what is, and there's other elements of it, but just in the time we have left, tell me what is, we talked about the first sound, the initial direction. And the last sound, what is the last sound, Marie? And I do this all the time. So I don't, when you work with me, so what is the last sound, Marie? What resonates?
The last sound
after. How do you want to make connecting flights resonate?
As I've always told you, being authentic, and people need to see something tangible for them to understand and know that, and in a guide, steps, principles, things that they can chew and eat on and hold on to, like the word of God. You can chew it and eat it and hold on to it and apply it in everyday life. So that's what I want to happen with connecting flights and the different elements and levels that it's going to create and go to. But I want you to have something tangible, something that you can chew on, something that you can eat and apply every day, irregardless of what's going on. Because trust me, life is hard within itself. It really is. But I tell anybody, you find you something to hold on to, find you a scripture, find you something that you know, irregardless of. Because I always say, even when your back is so far up against the wall, there's always a little room. There's always a little room. So if you stand up against the wall right now, there's always going to be a little room in between there. And that's your to push you when you feel like you can't no more.
Woo! Woo! Well, thank you so much for being here, Marie. Marie she'll tell me after, Barry, I was so nervous, but let's give her a hand. Thank you so much for being here. Gem Up the Stories. You guys see what the connection is. This discovering the value of your own story. So thank you so much for being a part of it. Yes, for being genuine. That's what authenticity is. Now you understand when something is authentic. So, as I always say, Marie, what is it that I always say each and every week when I say goodbye? First, I always say, my name is Barry Mixon, Barry B. Mixon. I'm a gemological storyteller. And each and every week, what do we want people to do? Marie, go ahead and say it.
To discover the value of your story.
Woo! Thank you. I was wondering where you're going to get it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next week. Au revoir, Atetela. Voila.
Voila.